Hi, my name is Marianne Emma Jeff, and I'm the CEO of the Women's Business Momentum Center. And I am honored to be a part of this summit. I love it when women come together to empower each other. And I think there's so much great information out there that it is a privilege and a delight for me to be a part of the panel of amazing speakers and presenters that you have on this summit. So, a little bit about me, just a tiny bit, because I want to make it all about you and about getting some stuff done. I am the Get It Done Diva. Now, that means something a little different that you might think it would. And actually, it's evolved for me a lot over the years. It used to mean that I would push and I would create checklists and I would make myself do as much as I possibly could to the point that I just completely burned myself out. In fact, a little over 10 years ago, I had my daughter and I was treating life just like a checklist. I had a coach at the time and she said I was treating the sessions with her like a checklist. And although I seemed to be being productive, I was just burning myself out so much that my body just gave in. I ended up being in bed for 6 months. The doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. I had an autoimmune score of 1200 on my ANA test with my blood work, and high is 120. And they had no idea what to do about it. Meanwhile, I'm lying in bed. I haven't got my mojo. I haven't got my zest that I'm used to having. And eventually, I was very lucky to find a natural doctor who helped me come off gluten, and almost instantly I began to get my energy back and feel great. But that wasn't the end of it for me. I realized this was a lot more than just me learning how to eat better. It was about me learning how to be better and how to show up differently in my life. It was a wake-up call. And so since that moment, I began to realize that it's not about treating life like a checklist that makes us great leaders, that allows us to begin to create and produce and become experts and leaders in our industry. What allows us to stand out and step up and be great is how we use our time, not using time like it's expendable, like time means nothing, to value the moments and to do less and achieve more. And since then, I've spent the last decade every single year doing less. Everybody thinks that I'm doing more. So when we do less, it doesn't always look like we're sitting around, lying on the beach, doing nothing. But I will tell you that nowadays I spend a lot of time lying in the hammock. But I'm not just lying there. I'm imagining, I'm daydreaming, I'm figuring things out. And so I'm producing more because I'm giving myself the space to think. I'm also really diligent about not taking anything on or moving into action until I'm excited and I'm anticipating how great it's going to be. And that really helps me to decide and choose what projects to work on when and who to collaborate with and how to create offerings for my business. Over the last 10 years, with this mindset and this model, I've been able to increase the revenue of my business every year. And as I said, do less every year. So how do I do that? I've been helping the ladies of the Women's Business Momentum Center, which is my organization, do this for a long time. I've written a couple of books. I have a #1 bestseller, The Get It Done Diva's Guide to Business. And once again, remember, getting it done isn't about pushing it. It's about really taking the time to be present in the activities that you're doing and choose wisely, not just overloading yourself and burning out. And then I also have a book called Brand Me. It's about mastering the art of business storytelling and how to use stories in a way that doesn't feel all, so that you can do sales that doesn't feel all icky. And so I have those 2 books that I have out there, but I also have this really great business model. And I'm going to actually share a great little resource that you're going to be able to download. There's a link for you to do that for free so that you can begin to step more into this place of being present and igniting your activities rather than pushing and binging. And let me talk about binging a little bit before we get into this. today we're overloaded with information. I mean, even this summit, which is amazing, it's a lot of information coming at you at the same time. And so what we tend to do is we binge. We binge on all the information that's coming in. We have a new course and we binge. We decide we're going to do email newsletters for our tribe, and we send newsletters every week for 8 weeks, and then we completely forget about it. We binge on information, on ideas. We binge on activities and pushing ourselves, and then we burn out. And then what we do is we are left feeling frustrated, overwhelmed, and further back than we were when we started what I call that binging, that spin cycle that we tend to get in. Now, I'm guilty of it just as much as anyone else, but not so much recently. I've learned by really using the steps that I'm going to share with you right now, which is super simple. This isn't a big, hard solution or a system for you to figure out. It's really simple. In fact, even though you'll see there's 5 things up here, I'm going to actually introduce it to you with just 3. I'm going to use slightly different words, and then we're going to go over and I'm going to explain what this is. And then you can start applying it right away to your personal life, to your business life, to leading a team as a leader, also to producing different products and services. You can use it in all areas of your life. So what it breaks down to is 3 things: vision, passion, and action. And what that creates, if you add that up together, is momentum. And momentum for me means consistent action towards moving forward that feels good, that moves you towards something that you desire. So it's moving towards those goals that feel delicious to you. Moving forward is momentum, and it feels delicious. So momentum equals passion plus vision plus action. But it's not just any old passion, it's not just any old vision, and it's not just any old action. And that's where we're going to get into this business model here now. So we start out here with ignite, and that's all about your passion. What ignite means is it means that you need to get yourself in the mood. Just like when we're getting a little romantic, when we're going to approach a project or an activity or a meeting with someone or a phone call, first we want to get ourselves in the mood. And sometimes there's some things that you can't get in the mood for. It's not the right time. Accepting that is a part of this too. But in order to ignite ourselves, we might begin to think about it. We might begin to look at what it is that we really want and really embrace that passion. What is it I want right now? Asking yourself why you're doing something. All of this will begin to embrace your passion, to ignite you before you do anything. The next thing you want to do is you want to imagine. You want to expand your vision. You want to turn on your imagination. And so once you've figured out what you want to do and you've embraced your hunger for that, and don't do anything you're not hungry for, then you want to begin to imagine, to daydream. Remember I talked about lying in the hammock? That's exactly what I'm doing when I'm lying in the hammock, figuring things out. And you might go down what appears to be a dead end. You might imagine something and then crumple up that piece of paper and throw it away. That's part of the process. Give yourself permission to imagine, to daydream, and to play with different ideas. And not all of them will move you to the next phase, which is right here, is then feeling so inspired because of those first 2 steps that you can't keep your butt in the seat. You just want to move. You're so ignited. You're so expanded in the vision and your imagination. You can see it. You can taste it. You can almost touch it, and you want to get up and you want to do something. You want to create inspired action. Not action where you're just phoning it in and going through the motions. Maybe not every single action you take right now can feel like that. But can you imagine if you maybe said 20% of the action now has to feel that way, like you can't help yourself but do it because you're so excited, you're so in your imagination that you're ready to take action. It's a whole different way of approaching things compared to creating a list and forcing yourself to buckle down and do it. Now, sometimes when we create a list, we can get really excited, but it doesn't last. And so when that happens, you just go back to igniting yourself and then expanding your imagination again. And that's going to keep you in momentum rather than in that place where you're pushing yourself and you're burning out. Now, there's two other steps that you can see on here. The first one here is evolve, and that's about giving yourself permission to change. Remember I said crumple up that piece of paper and throw it away? You're evolving. When we evolve, we change our mind. We choose differently. And I think that's one of the hugest lessons that I've learned this year, is that I can put a lot of energy into something. I can imagine it. I can be excited about it. And then I can decide, I don't feel like that's a good choice. Or that doesn't feel right anymore. Or it's not a good fit. And that doesn't mean I failed. It means I'm evolving. That my taste, my palate is changing. And for a long time I thought that was giving up. That felt like such a negative. I was such a high performer. I was so driven that I would follow through on things that my gut was telling me it wasn't really right anymore. Everything is a stepping stone to where you're going. There is no wrong turn. There is just growth and learning and evolution. And finally, one of my favorite parts of this, which sometimes it doesn't feel so good when it's happening, but is that reboot. Life is full of reboots. Every morning when you wake up, it's a reboot. Give yourself permission to choose differently, be a completely different person. When I fly to England, in case you haven't noticed from the accent, I'm from England, I come back home, and the most exciting thing for me when I come back home to the USA is waking up the next morning so early because I have jet lag. Jet lag for me is like this huge reboot. And what it does is it allows me to look at my life a little bit differently. Now, we get to do that every morning, as I said. Even as we move from one room to the next, we have these little mini reboots. And then some things happen in our lives sometimes that just pull the rug out from underneath us. 10 years ago, I quit drinking after being really a high-functioning alcoholic for several decades. And that was a reboot for me. When I began to be a mother and figuring out how to do that, that was a reboot for me. There's been lots of reboots in my life, and I've always come out of the other side of that, evolved and more passionate and excited about what is in front of me. So when you're sitting there and you're figuring out what should I do, or you're feeling stuck and you want to get in momentum, no matter what you're doing, you've got ignite, embrace your passion. Really get clear on what you're doing and why you're doing it, and make sure that it excites you. Next, imagine. Expand your vision. Daydream. Begin to feel and see what it would look like to move forward with this project or idea or conversation. And finally, when you cannot keep your butt in your chair any longer, get into inspired action. That's when you move, because the action you'll take will come naturally. And one thing to keep in mind is often people will plan out for a project all the steps that they're going to do for a project. And they might be excited and passionate. They might see what it's going to look like. But then when they look to get into action, they see this list of order of how to do things. Do step 1, then step 2. And they have no passion for step 1. I invite you, take a different route. Start with step 5. Start with the last step. You don't have to begin at the beginning. If it doesn't move you, then don't do it. Now, if you'd like some help doing this on a weekly level and really igniting your week and igniting your day, I have a download for you of a week and a little worksheet that you can use so that you can ignite your week. And I'm going to talk you through that with a little video as well. So if that sounds fun to you, I Ignite You. It's a free resource I wanted to share with you. It incorporates all of these steps, and it is a phenomenal way to get in momentum. So get out there, have fun, embrace your hunger, enhance and expand your imagination, and take inspired action. And I will see you in momentum.